Good evening, football fans, and welcome to Bulldog Stadium live in Waterloo, Illinois, sponsored by HTC. We are actually getting ready for football here momentarily, and before we actually do, we got 22 minutes left before kickoff for tonight's game between your Waterloo Bulldogs against the rivals across the way, Columbia Eagles. But we're going to run through a little bit of stats. Last week, your Bulldogs defeated Heron 14-3. And receiving yards we have is Zach Schaub passed for, he had 8 completions, 11 attempts for 102 yards with 1 touchdown. The receiving yards was Rick Wiegand, had 3 attempts with 41 yards. Austin Campbell, 1 attempt, 39 yards and 1 touchdown. Ryan Aycock had 1 attempt for 7 yards. Stephen Shadd had 1 attempt for 7 yards. Reed Hoppin, 1 attempt for 4 yards, and Taylor Vernier, 1 attempt for 4 yards. In rushing, Stephen Shadd had 15 attempts for 93 yards. Rick Wiegand, 13 attempts for 74 yards. Taylor Vernier had 6 attempts for 29 yards and 1 touchdown. And Vince Gagliardi had 1 attempt for 2 yards. Total yards last week, Rick Wiegand had 115 total yards, Stephen Shadd 100 yards, Taylor Vernier 33, and Vince Gagliardi had 2. Defense, Grant Schneider had 7 tackles, Zach George had 7 tackles, Tyler McIver had 6, Colton Hardy had 5, Devin Hemmer had 5, and Alex Schulteis had 5. Devin Hemmer also had 1 sack last week. So this week they're going against Columbia, who's actually 1-0 as well. So I'm going to give you Columbia stats here real quick. It looks like Waterloo has won a toss and they deferred the kickoff. So Columbia Eagles last week played Wood River at home and they won 48-0. And scoring for them, they had Jacob Hill had 1 completion for 1 attempt, 7 yards, 1 touchdown. Drew Hebner, no completions, 1 attempt. Their rushing yards, Jacob Hill had 4 attempts for 70 yards, 1 touchdown. Kenny Fields had 7 attempts for 57 yards and 1 touchdown. Nick Anthony, hopefully get that name right later on tonight, 3 attempts for 56 yards and 1 touchdown. Lou Isringhouse had 2 attempts for 45 yards and 1 touchdown. Chris Wagner had 2 attempts and 16 yards. Cole Crisp had 1 attempt for 10 yards. Stephen Isaac had 3 attempts for 6 yards, and Dylan Freiberghaus had 1 attempt for 1 yard. Receiving end, Brendan Wilhelm had 1 attempt for 7 yards and 1 touchdown. Total yards last week for Columbia, Jacob Hill had 70, Kenny Fields had 57, Nick Antonini had 56, Lou Isringhouse had 45, Chris Wagner had 16, Cole Crisp had 10, Stephen Isaac had 6, and Dylan Freiberghaus had 1. On their defensive side, Kevin Spesiak had 2 tackles, Cole Foster had 2 tackles, Grant Snow and Evan Vogt also had a tackle. Kevin Spesiak and Cole Foster also had a sack in last week's game. Chris Clyde had a sack, Paul McClanahan had a sack as well. Looks like Cole Crisp had a sack, and Brian Daughtery had a sack as well. So there's 19 minutes left before kickoff tonight between the Waterloo Bulldogs, your hometown Waterloo Bulldogs, and the Columbia Eagles. And we'll be right back with kickoff in 19 minutes, so kind of stay with us here and just kind of enjoy the atmosphere as we keep the live picture on. I'll be off the air for a while. I'll be right back in about 18 minutes with your kickoff and play-by-play. Again, we're sponsored by HCC.net. If you want to find out, look later on at this, you can kind of go to WHS.HCC.net. Again, HCC, your sponsor tonight. Just a quick reminder, folks, that was not your internet going acting up on you at home. We were checking to see if we could actually get the corner of the end zone for big plays later on in the end zone for your favor. So, again, don't adjust your screen. That was just us moving the camera. We'll be right back with opening kickoff. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's 9 minutes and 48 seconds till kickoff, but we're going to focus your attention now on your marching Bulldogs as they enter on the track into the field area. So we are going to let you hear the sights and sounds of the Bulldog marching band as they enter the stadium, and listen to the crowd. They are pumped up for this rivalry between your Waterloo Bulldogs and the Columbia Eagles. We'll be right back, but I'm going to let you stay on and listen to the crowd and the sounds of the music.